I'm Angie, and you're watching Dante's Vaccination.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? You know, if you really sit down and put all of this together, it's really telling. I will definitely elaborate shortly. Canelo Alvarez is fighting against Dimitri Bivol this weekend. I want to tell you guys what Oscar De La Hoya said, and I want to quote everything he said just to show you guys how this entire Canelo Alvarez situation culminates. I'll explain more after I quote what Oscar De La Hoya said. So Oscar De La Hoya, he believes what destroyed his relationship with Canelo Alvarez was what he told Canelo. He told Canelo he needs a new trainer. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and quote exactly what Oscar De La Hoya said. He said, look, I've been thinking a lot about exactly what happened and took place. Canelo said that I wasn't loyal, and I know where that comes from. I remember giving an interview and not criticizing Eddie Reynoso, but kind of like telling maybe Canelo can use a different trainer or somebody new and different that can show you different things, different techniques, just the way I change trainers, just the way Ryan is changing trainers. It only helps. So I believe that criticism there that I had towards Eddie Reynoso didn't rub off the right way with Canelo. So now I'm disloyal, and it's okay. It's fine. I have no issues with that. End quote. Guys, this is what Oscar De La Hoya said about a year ago. But the beef that he had with Canelo Alvarez, it was around the time that Canelo fought Danny Jacobs and Sergey Kovalev in 2019, towards the end of 2019. Now, why is this so relevant today, you ask? Well, you guys remember, let's just start with the video I just did. You guys remember the very last video I did. It was about Canelo Alvarez. I showed images of Canelo Alvarez sitting ringside, watching his teammate and countryman Oscar Valdez get dominated by Shakur Stevenson. It is a really, really good video. So if you haven't watched it, go check it out. So once again, Canelo Alvarez, he's sitting ringside, watching his teammate Oscar Valdez get dominated by Shakur Stevenson. And I told you guys, Canelo Alvarez, he looked just as confused and bewildered as Oscar Valdez looked when he was in the ring losing to Shakur Stevenson. I told you guys, usually when Canelo Alvarez is sitting ringside and he's watching one of his teammates fight, he's usually a lot more animated. He's yelling out instructions, but yet in this fight, he was extremely quiet because Canelo, nor his trainer, Eddie Reynoso, had any answers on what they could do to beat a Shakur Stevenson. Or forget beating him, even making the fight competitive. For example, even though Sean Porter lost to Crawford and Errol Spence, Kenny and Sean, they had a great game plan because they made both of those fights extremely competitive. But Team Canelo, Oscar Valdez, Eddie Reynoso, they had no answers. They did not know what to do in that fight. And this is the reason why Oscar De La Hoya was suggesting that Canelo Alvarez should look for a new trainer so he can learn new techniques. He can teach him new things that Eddie Reynoso cannot teach Canelo Alvarez. Oscar De La Hoya, he didn't say this when Canelo was 17, 18, or 21 years old. Oscar said this when Canelo Alvarez was 27, 28. So when you hear anyone say Canelo Alvarez is pound for pound the best fighter in the world, let me ask you this question. Have you ever heard a reporter or anyone else of significance imply that Terrence Crawford needs a new trainer, that Errol Spence needs a new trainer, Vasyl Lomachenko needs a new trainer, Floyd Mayweather, Roy Jones Jr., Pernell Whitaker, James Toney, and the list just goes on and on and on. When have you ever heard someone of significance say, you need a new trainer because you need to learn new techniques? We usually hear someone say something like this after a fighter loses. It's very rare to hear someone imply that a fighter needs a new trainer while he's still winning. What does that tell you? It tells you that Oscar De La Hoya, who is a gold medalist, a Hall of Famer, and one of the greatest Mexican fighters of all time, he's telling you that Canelo Alvarez is a limited fighter. There's no other way of explaining what Oscar De La Hoya said. There's no other way of interpreting what he said. And then on top of all of that, you think about what Canelo Alvarez's own trainer said, Eddie Reynoso. Eddie Reynoso did an interview where he was extremely honest when it came to his thoughts on Black American boxers. He said, and I quote, "Black American boxers are the most difficult fighting style in the sport. Whenever you're fighting against a black fighter, it is going to be a complicated fight."
Like you faced a fighter like Shakur before, somewhat similar to Mayweather style. Is there any resemblance, and does that fight prepare him at all? Like I know Shakur, she's starting out, but somewhat stylistically the same.
El Shakur, el estilo de Shakur como el de Floyd, en algún momento puesta alguna dificultad para enfrentar con el estilo de Valdés.
Sí, no, el estilo afroamericano para mí es de los más complicados que hay en el boxeo. Exacto. Y cualquiera que vaya a pelear con un afroamericano con un estilo, creo que son peleas complicadas. Shakur es un tremendo boxeador.
Now, I played the audio clip right there of the actual interview just to show proof to the Spanish speakers, because I already know that that is the exact translation of what Eddie Reynoso said about Black American fighters. Now, even though Eddie Reynoso is being extremely honest, but at the same time, he's admitting that he can only help Canelo Alvarez so much. When it comes to those fighters, those undefeated champions like Andrade and Jamal Charlo, I can't teach you how to beat them. So Eddie Reynoso is admitting this is exactly why Canelo, he never fought the champions, Jamal Charlo and Demetrius Andrade at 154 or 160. So how is it possible that Terrence Crawford and his team, they have a game plan when it comes to beating Errol Spence? And so does Errol Spence and Derrick James, his trainer. You know why? Because there are levels to this. And Canelo Alvarez is clearly not on the level of a Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. And clearly Canelo's trainer, Eddie Reynoso, is not on the level of their trainers, Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. This is why Oscar De La Hoya felt that Canelo needed a new trainer. And remember, Oscar De La Hoya was one of Canelo's allies. They were working together. He had Canelo Alvarez's best interests. You know, we often see fans, Canelo Alvarez fans on the internet saying Canelo would beat Andrade and Charlo. He would beat them easy. Well, clearly you should be training Canelo Alvarez, because that's not how Eddie Reynoso feels. In fact, the irony is Eddie Reynoso doesn't even agree with what the Canelo Alvarez fans say on the internet in defense of Canelo. Canelo Alvarez has been making the exact same mistakes that he made when he lost to Floyd Mayweather. We see Canelo Alvarez have the same problems with fighters that have foot movement, counter punchers, fighters that are just decent boxers, not anywhere near as good of a boxer as Floyd Mayweather was, which is what still makes this fight this weekend very interesting. I'm gonna wrap this one up. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one. All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, then this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called LO Key Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to lodkey.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram.
How has this changed your life, man?
It's been good. It's been good. I feel younger, look younger. The young girls. I just get scratch that, but it's been good. It's been good. I like the look. I like the feel. I feel more confident now. It was money well spent.
Now, in terms of the response, what has been people said, like as people being like, hey, you know, what do you have on your head, or things of that sort?
The most response I get is like, yo, what barber you go to? Or they get, such a close shave with, everything lined up so sharp and everything. And, then I go into explaining to them the procedure of what I had done and everything. And they always like, I would never know if you didn't.
Fellas, I've got some great news for you. If you've lost your hair or have a receding hairline, the time has come when you can finally get your hairline back through a process called scalp micropigmentation. So here's how it works. It's a hair tattoo that replicates the look of your hair follicles when you have fully shaved it down. So to get this hookup, make sure you follow and contact my man Scalp Carolinas on Instagram.